Peace of Christ be with you. And we've got some visitors, prospective students checking out Hope. We want to welcome you to our beloved community. Oh, no place like Hope. I love me some of this time of year. The last couple weeks of classes. Yeah. The sleigh bells slinging, I love it. One of the reasons why I love it is that I can see it in your eyes. Finals are just around the corner, the last papers, the final assignment. I love this time of year. You're all doing what you're supposed to be doing all season long. You're studying. I love this time of year because I love the intensity. Everyone's focused. Everyone's up early, staying up late, drinking lots of coffee, learning, finally learning. I love it. It's my favorite time of year. And I know some of you are like, no. You go back to your cluster and you start, I got to write that paper. Oh, I got that exam. No. You get to write that paper. You get that exam. This is game time, people. Have some grit. Don't complain. This is why you're here. I love this time of year. Finals, people, finals. Let's go. Let's get up. Let's study. Yeah, final. I love it. I love me some school. Oh, I want you to own finals. I want you to walk in there, look your professor in the eye and say, I got this. I want you to sit down. I want you to make their Christmas easy by making this the greatest grading experience of their life. I want CNN to come to campus because everyone got A's because they studied during finals. I can see it. You're ready. I love it this time of year. But I also love this time of year because it's Advent. Advent is this watchful season, watchful for God with us. It's longing, Christmas trees and the lights, poinsettias and the beautiful wreaths with the red bows, mittens, hot chocolate, weather, anticipation of gifts at Christmas, giving and receiving. I love this time of year. And all inspired by this story of God coming in the flesh and a baby, this cuddly baby that we hold. It's beautiful. I love this time of year. What's not to love? But there's a danger, though, in this time of year, that we can start to think that that Christmas is sentimentalized, that Christ himself is sentimentalized, that the Christian life is all trees and pretty lights and wreaths with red bows and poinsettias. But you know that it isn't. You know this. You feel it. You watch it. Life isn't sentimental. Our scripture today reminds us of this truth. Hear these words from the book that we love, the bush that burns and is never consumed. Now, after they had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up and take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." And then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother, and went to Egypt. And he remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet. Out of Egypt I will call my son. When Herod saw that he had been tricked by the Magi, he was infuriated. He sent out and killed all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that was given to him by the Magi. Then was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation. Rachel, weeping for her children. She could not be consoled because they are no more. Friends, this is the word of the Lord. Hard to say thanks to that story. The killing of the innocent children. The gospel is good news for all people at all times and in all places, but what's so good about that story? And I don't have an easy answer to that, and I won't give one. But this story is here for a reason. And I've been thinking about it all week, and I think that maybe this story is here, maybe, that it reminds us that there are different responses to Jesus. different responses to the revelation of God, different responses to the gift of humanity. The Magi, if you remember, on Wednesday, the Magi came and searched out Jesus to pay him homage, to worship him. Herod searched out Jesus to kill him. The Magi brought gifts to Jesus. Herod brought a sword for others. The Magi saw Jesus and was filled with awe and wonder. When Herod couldn't find Jesus, he was infuriated because he wanted to destroy who Jesus was, not just the person, but all of what represented Jesus, because Jesus, as you know, was the professed Messiah, the King. And that's a threat, which is why there are different responses to Jesus. This story reminds us that there are two fundamental threats that face our life all the time if you hear the good news that's for all people at all times and in all places. The first threat is Jesus himself. Jesus is God's revelation to the world, God's self in human form. And Jesus came into this world not just to be with us, not just to be something that we can hold as a cuddly child so that we all feel good and we can sentimentalize him at Christmas. That is not why Jesus came. Jesus came into this world to save the world. Jesus came to us, yes, to be with us, yes, but also to call us to be something new, call us to be something different. Jesus is not safe. Jesus is not something that we can sentimentalize, that we can control. Even his parents, Mary and Joseph, could not control the baby Jesus. Get up, Joseph, and flee now. There's a consequence to Jesus' presence in the world, and it is a threat. And God sent Jesus into the world to do something for us. He wants to remodel us, remake us. He wants to tear down your drywall. He wants to punch out that wall. He wants to make something new. He might even tear down the whole structure and build it all up again. He wants you to be born again, transformed, have a new life in Jesus. This is a threat. It's a threat to everyone who wants to hold on to their life the way it is. Herod understood this. Herod's response to Jesus is not necessarily wrong. If you understand that you want to keep the world the way it is, if you want to protect your status quo, if you want to hold on to your power and your privilege and your benefits, then you might do what Herod did. Herod understood Jesus as a threat. Jesus came so that we might be made different. Jesus does not want our sentimental songs. He wants our very soul. That's the first threat. The second threat, I think, is the greatest threat to the world today. And we see the consequence of it in Herod and Herod's response. God sends Jesus into the world as a gift. That gift is a threat that unsettles all of what we take for granted, all of our natural assumptions. But there's a greater threat, and that greater threat is to resist, to make our hearts heart to the revelation of God, to resist the very grace of God for all humanity at all times and in all places. That is the greatest threat to the world. The greatest threat to the world today is resisting the presence of Jesus in your life. And when you resist the presence of Jesus, God's gift to humanity, we begin to do unhuman acts, like the slaying of innocent children. Herod goes all Machiavelli on us. Jesus is a threat. He'll rise up to be a rival king, and so I am going to eliminate that threat now. It was a cold calculation so that he could keep things the way they were. And the consequence of that action was the murder of innocent people. There is a real life effect when we resist Jesus. And it comes out in ways in which people are hurt, harmed, murdered, stripped of their dignity, all because we are resistant to God's gift to humanity. This story is here for a reason, and it is a reminder of a fundamental theological point that haters are going to hate. If you hate the child, you might hate children. If you hate the gift of humanity, you might do acts that hurt humanity. Herod's actions remind us that sin is real. And as my friend and colleague James Ellis says, sin is no joke. It actually hurts people. Your sin, my sin, is not just about me, it is social. It is structural. It affects the community. We have to be alert. We have to be alert. My friends, you know this. But you don't just hear the good news, you got to do the good news. Herod heard the good news that Jesus was here, but he did not act on the good news. You know this, but you can come to chapel, you can sing songs and look at the beautiful trees, and we have a wonderful experience, and that is important, but it doesn't matter unless we go out and do the good news. My friends, this is Advent. It's a watchful season. It's a time to be alert to God's presence in our life, but it's also time to be alert to Herod, to anything that is searching to destroy the presence of Jesus in your life. There are a lot of Herods around. There are a lot of Herods that seek to steal your freedom, steal your joy, steal Jesus' truth speaking into your life. What Herod are you facing right now? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a social scene. I don't know what it is, but I know that it's a season, it's a time where we have to be alert and watchful so that we do not succumb to the greatest threat, which is to resist Jesus. And we welcome God's gift, which is Jesus himself. I was talking with my friend Temple Smith the other day, Dr. Smith. I love me some Dr. Temple Smith. She's awesome. And she was saying to me, she said, Trig, I need to protect the innocence of my thoughts so that I don't become bitter. For Temple, for Dr. Smith, her thinking could be a Herod that could steal the presence of Jesus in her life, a thinking pattern that could make her life bitter. See, Temple understood the wisdom of Joseph that he heard from the angel. Sometimes we have to get up and flee to Egypt. If there is a Herod pressing in, seeking to destroy the presence of Jesus in your life, you got to get up and you got to go to Egypt. You got to flee that presence. What do you need to flee right now so that Jesus is not stolen from your life? Because the good news, my friends, is that Herod does not live forever. And the really good news is we know this because Jesus killed sin. Herod represents sin in this story, and all that is death. Jesus, this baby, grew into a man, gave his life on a cross, and that cross has taken away the sin of the world. He was laid in a tomb, and he got up from that tomb, and he stepped into a new life, a new freedom, a new power, and he's given that to us. Herod is dead, my friends, but Herod's still lurking around. Don't give Herod a foothold. Herod does not last forever. But the really, 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 really good news for all people at all times, for me, for you, is that Jesus does live forever, is forever. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, which is why we come in here and sing. It's why we worship. And it's why you are called to be a people of hope, now and forever. Amen? Go in peace.